I guess let's get into recipes. What are recipes in Smite?
Right, so recipes are a brand new type of item. They're going to be actually listed under the starter item category. So in the store filter, you'll see starter item / recipes.
Okay.
These are something that we expect every player to get at the beginning of games alongside their starter items.
Got it.
And that doesn't mean that you're going to just have like less value for items at the beginning of the game, because these cost 0 gold.
Absolutely free.
You're picking up. You're going to see these 5 different types of recipes. You're going to pick up one of them for free. They even go to like the last slot in your inventory as well, which was like fun little added new tech. The program team helped a lot with all of these. And so these are evolving items, essentially. They have 2 quest steps each one. They all have the same kind of system alongside them.
Okay.
And then you go through one. They have 0 stats, so 0 gold, 0 stats. It helps you there.
Good.
And every time you progress from one step to another, you actually get a little bit of a gold reward. So it's an incentive to continue going forwards. And then when you finally complete the second step, you get the completed dish. You're done cooking. You follow the quest steps and you've chefed it up, and you get a final dish.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're served that final dish, which again has no stats. It has a primary passive benefit. It lasts an infinite duration until you sell it for 0 gold. And that's something we said on the blog post as well. It's we expect players to get this early on, and you'll finish it before 10 minutes ideally. And late game, you sell whatever you haven't finished eating.
Yeah. So what, you haven't finished? You get a little doggy bag.
Exactly.
Get rid of that.
Well,
that's super cool, and I absolutely love that.
I don't like
always a
free
fan of
gold.
things that give you those additional quests. So
I don't
like
love
I'm
that
farming,
gold
I'm paying attention. Maybe
part
I'm
of
not
it.
winning lane. So I have something else to do. I'm hugging tower, and I'm trying to get these quests done and get my little benefit in. So.
All the quests for the different recipes were definitely designed such that if you want to min-max them, if you really want to chase completing these as fast as possible to get that ultimate, to get maybe even the gold along the way, and then the ultimate passive reward as fast as possible, you can try and do this as best you can and finish it as
I'm worth of gold? Yeah.
However, if you're falling behind and you don't think you can min-max it that well, you will likely still complete
Probably
this
help. Well,
at
it
a
depends on
healthy
what the
period of
items
time.
are.
It's not going to take you
So far,
till
it's
the end
just
of
like
the game,
a
like
like a
as you're buying the
blessing.
sixth item before you get that final dish. You will
It's like an
complete it in
old
a fair
blessing
time.
with just no stats.
Because we want to make sure again that snowball and comeback mechanic argument that we talked about before. This is not a new method of overtaking it. Also, we didn't want to just increase player power at the end of the game. Right? We want to find that very delicate balance.
It gives you
between making
gold
sure
once
that
you
players aren't
complete
too
the
strong
steps.
with the end game builds, and this was just one way of kind of a twist of the early to mid game that is diminished in the late game.
Yeah, and one other thing about these is that these are not role locked. You can buy them in any role that you want. They are designed with a role in mind, that it is probably easier to do it in. But you can buy it anywhere. I've been experimenting a lot with that, seeing what I can buy.
I need to see the items to decide like what it is.
It's a lot of fun to
like
try different things.
What the
with
benefit you get
so
is.
really recommend.
Is it like 10% attack
trying
speed?
It out
Is
the
it
first time maybe with the one that we recommend for
5
the role,
MP5?
But again, mix it up. Show us what you got.
Is it
and feel free
you
to
walk faster out of
Yeah,
base? Like
feel free to
I
That's
have
something
to
we've
see what it
always done
is.
too,
Walk faster in the
Things
jungle.
will be designed for certain roles and will work technically better in those roles, but that's as far as we're aware. We love seeing people flex. We love seeing y'all experiment.
A free
And
passive,
if y'all
yeah.
pop off
As
and
far
say,
as I
"Hey, yo,
know."
this hunter one, buy this as the assassin, because there's some crazy stuff you can do.
Because at the end of the day, it's always based on these class archetypes as well. Because as these are items, they're available in all game modes.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be able to get all of these
Yeah, you
recipes
sell
in all
it
game modes
later.
with the caveat of I
With
believe one.
Two. There's two
Party
exceptions.
punch being like the one recipe
Yes.
not available in
Arena and Assault. Yes, and you'll see why.
Well, yeah.
It's probably a
We'll get into that.
support one.
Yeah, this
Party
is
punch
for
must be
your
the
own
support
good. I know
one.
that you guys want to party with the party punch.
Is it that or like a
We'll
mid lane
get to
stacking
it.
item
all
where you
the
need to
other
get
ones, all
last
the other
hits?
game modes.
Oh, it's the,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, we're excited to see
I didn't think about that.
what combination of things that people pick up.
Well, I think we've talked enough
All right,
about
let's see
them
the items.
theoretically. Let's pop open the recipe book and start going down the list. Let's kick off with golden gooseberries.
Yeah, so we can briefly go through what they are. Like I said, there's no
Kill
stats
30
on any of
minions.
these. So golden gooseberries is the more hunter-oriented
God
one,
damage with
or
basic attacks.
attack
Got it.
oriented one. The first step is kill some minions. Simply put, you can do this
Easy
as lane
enough.
minions or jungle minions. There is a distinction
So
between those.
this one
Flashing
is
berries, right? You're getting them ready.
Yeah,
Yep, exactly.
Golden
step
Blade.
2, so once you've done that, you get your 50 gold like you do for all of them. You move on to
Yep.
step 2, which happens automatically. You don't need to go back
that's
to base or
kind of
anything.
crazy.
You then need to deal 750 god damage with basic attacks. Again, this is incentivizing the basic attack-oriented gameplay.
750
A lot of
god
these quests
damage?
are simple things that you've seen before. Like I said, we didn't want to break ground and make sure they were all mode agnostic. And
I
then
mean,
finally, you've
this
done
is
step 1, you've
so
done step
easy.
2, and you get the final dish, the actual golden gooseberries themselves, which is
This
you
is
might have
so
seen this
easy.
before, and it's very specifically chosen this way. But your basic attacks will also hit enemies within a 10-unit radius for 30% of the damage to gods and 50% of the damage to minions. This is effectively a way of introducing a golden blade-like effect
Yeah.
for everyone who wants it without having to worry about the stats. Also at a diminished amount of diminished radius, so it is a weaker effect, and Golden Blade is still inside in the game, so you can technically double up on these, but theoretically you shouldn't need to.
Yeah.
If you just wanted to splash of this, if you just wanted this in the Hunter lane to help get a better clear later on as you progress, this will help you get there.
Yeah, this is also not
I mean, that's
necessarily a
good. That is
replacement
very
for
good
anyone
for
like your
auto
Arachnes,
attack,
your Mercs,
slow
your Polys that are
clear
getting it in the
ADCs.
jungle. You can also get this. But
To
you know,
match
not
gods
much
like
else instead,
Ishtar,
so it's
Cern,
not a
Rama,
replacement. We're not getting rid of Golden Blade,
Charybdis.
but it's there if you want to try and experiment.
And if you want both, it does work, but it's not like as
It's not crazy.
yeah, it's not as crazy, and you're really you could have been flexing into something else that could have helped you out in your gameplay instead.
Yeah.
But we're excited to see it.
Yeah, because again, I mean, no gold, which is awesome. It's no gold. You complete some missions, you get this awesome effect, but there's no stats with it either. So if you're trading out Golden Blade, then you're missing out on those stats. When you
Yeah,
can
it
just
stacks
go
with
free
Golden
passive,
Blade.
choose a different item.
Exactly.
It's the build path.
Yeah.
So next up, Sturdy Stew.
Yeah, the Sturdy Stew. First one for this. This is our more support-oriented one.
Got it.
As you can see by our first step, which is to obtain 40 minion
Critical Pulse
assists.
provides.
So, a couple waves go by. Jungle camps also count for this, so literally any minion on the map, and you will be getting those. Second step is to crowd control enemy gods 10 times, and you can't gain more than 1 stack per 1 second. So if you're thinking like, oh, I'm Ares chained someone, you
Yeah.
gotta wait the whole time, and then it'll go off again, or like
Like
Nox,
something like
or
that.
Ganesh, or
Yeah.
any of these characters that have the channeled CCs. Those guys don't have an inherent advantage in getting those stacks.
Got
But
it.
the final dish is that when
That
you
seems
are hit
rather
by a crowd
weak.
control, hard crowd control, you will pulse out a protection aura, basically, that happens
I think
one
the bigger
time.
part that is it
It'll
hits
be 5
allies
protections
too.
plus 1 per level to yourself and allies within 55 units for 5 seconds with an internal cooldown of 10 seconds.
Gotcha.
That seems
Yeah,
okay.
super cool. Again, I love all the quests.
It
you
does
know,
not
those
seem
type of things.
great.
It's like I'm playing a game and I get to play more game while playing.
It does
game.
not seem
Even these
too
passive effects
good.
themselves, like they are almost a little bit more
'Cause
passive than some of the
this
other
would be
ones.
a lot
They have
better
purpose
if
to
it
them.
was
They're there for a reason. They help you out, but you don't need to like min-max
Allies
them
being
at
hit
all
by
times.
crowd
Just when you
controls
actually,
within 55 units
if you're doing the
provides
right
them
things
with
and you're tanking
protections
and
per
you're
level.
getting hit by the abilities over your teammates, you're helping your teammates.
Because if
out.
you're getting hit by the
That's what to
CC,
do.
you're not making
Absolutely
great
love
use
it.
out of
Next
these
up,
protections.
Bountiful Bow.
Yeah, I think this is the one where just like as soon as we were brainstorming different ones, and as soon as we came up with the idea of like there needs to be dumplings
Rich
about.
food,
This,
yeah.
this,
This
this just
was
needs to happen.
Instantly, Clumsy was like, we're doing this.
Yeah, it's like I need
Cool.
bow no matter what. And then I can't remember whose suggestion was for like the word just bountiful. I'm like, that's amazing. Bountiful
That's
bow.
how we knew that they
was-
had to be alliteration.
They had
Yeah,
to be
the alliteration. I wanted to comment.
I think we went
Absolutely.
backwards and yeah, we made sure all of them had alliteration.
Yeah, they all
'cause
have
yeah.
alliteration.
I think only like 2 of them did at this point. I'm like, you know what, bountiful bow.
All
is
of them got
perfect.
it.
Yeah.
And also shout outs to Kalani as well for the
Yeah.
UI art. Like they all look amazing.
look
and
delicious.
that's actually what I was talking about before. It's
Um,
like every time we were like going back and forth on the UI art, we're like, okay, well maybe we like expense a
That
trip
seems
to go get
okay.
some food because
Yeah.
like this is
For
just research. At
research.
this
Research.
point.
Yeah, you're making
Yeah.
sure that it aesthetically is the right. So I think you nailed it.
Yep.
honestly.
That's
So bountiful
okay.
bow is the more ability or mage focused one.
Got it.
Step 1, simply spend some mana.
I want to actually pause you there real quick because you may just say, oh, but I can use abilities, before the timer happens. But it actually does not count. You have to wait till the game starts and whatever match you're in. That's variable time, of course.
Yep.
But the game actually has to begin, so everyone's on a fair
Yeah,
playing
kind of like
field
a mini
there
Cronus
in terms
pennant.
of
I can't wait for
spending
people to like not listen to this and still start spamming it. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say
It doesn't work. You'll have to wait.
I think it's
You're
okay
Osiris,
again.
that's
I think
not
the Hunter
really
one is clearly the best.
Step 2, so the counterpart to the other one, you're going
So
to have to
far,
deal
at
god
least.
damage with abilities. Again, specifically god damage. So you have to actually be aggressive and find the
Yeah.
enemy gods and
Take
hit them.
longer to stack, though?
Abilities over the
This
basic
one?
attacks this time.
I don't
And
think this one will
finally,
take
for that
too long.
ability-focused dish effect, when you use a non-ultimate ability, that cooldown is reduced by 1.5 seconds, and that effect
I think that
itself has
spend
an
1,000
influence of
mana
about
one
8
is kind of
seconds. So,
crazy.
Again, something that you can definitely min-max if you want to. You can start thinking about kind of like Mulan's passive, which ability you're going to use first.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah, something
if
like
you don't wanna
this
think
with a
about that,
fucking
you're just gonna get
Hebo.
ubiquitous benefit as long as you
Bro,
just don't have that
if
final dish
Hebo
active.
walks up
It's
to
just
me,
gonna be helping you out, even if you're not like really focused.
hits me with a 1,
So,
procs
cool.
his Bountiful
Next up,
Ball,
continuing
Bountiful,
alliteration.
Bountiful,
It's a party
Bountiful
punch
Bayo.
now.
Yeah,
And
so
then
this
one's
is
me
one for
again,
our
half a
junglers.
second later.
This one is the one
I might
again
cry.
that was banned in the other modes, and the reason why is because you have to kill or assist 30 jungle minions, and in Assault, there's none.
Unless
yeah, there's like 6.
In Arena,
Yeah,
there's 6.
Block
but
1,500 units,
30,
which
I mean,
is-
that takes you
That's
getting
gonna take a while.
every single
That's
buff
not
on the
much.
map for
What if
5
Fire
rotations,
Giant
but-
counts for like
Every 100
all
units
of it?
travel, you get a buff that deals
Yeah,
20.
there you go.
You still have to wait till he
Yeah,
spawns
we-
and stuff
that
like
would
that.
be
And
8 minutes,
and then
though,
you
which
get
is a
it.
little
then you
towards
get
the
it
end of our
stolen,
window.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that-
Okay, this
that
one
I do
scales.
understand, yeah,
This
that
one's really
makes sense.
good.
Okay, but step 2.
This part is
for
really
Party
hard.
Punch, again, junglers, keep in
But I
mind.
think this one's good.
Traverse 1,500 units.
Yep.
So just walk around the map,
Keep
do your
traveling.
rotations, and
This is a really good
keep
poke
traveling,
item.
and you will get that step 2 done to obtain your
Actually, it's
final
pretty
dish,
low damage,
which
though.
is every 100 units that you travel, you get a buff. and that buff will deal 20 plus 15% of your physical or magical power as physical damage.
Exactly.
So either mages, guardians, magicals or physicals can get this, but it will always do physical damage.
Got it.
And it will trigger on your next basic attack or ability, and this also procs on NPCs as well. So any of your jungle campers can proc
this one
on.
seems a lot better for magical gods.
Towers, though.
50% of 100
generally
is a 15, makes this almost double the
rotate
value.
And then get the right amount of movement for you to get that.
Assassins have like
and,
40 power after first item.
It's party punch, not wackaroni.
And once you start picking this up in the game, you'll see that like 100 units. This isn't a large investment of time like that. You'll get this multiple times in 2 minutes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's
it does
super
not
cool.
stack.
Sounds
I
like
can almost
Mercury would be
guarantee.
a fan of that one.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah. He loves it.
He loves walking around. All right. So the last one here, the durable drumstick.
Kind of as the name alludes, and the only archetype that we haven't hit yet is the
dealer
Soul
take
Lane Warriors
1500,
for the most
6
part,
free
or
damage
just
in
your
enemy
tankier
god, 20 times of
characters,
basic attacks or
because you can pick this
abilities.
up on Guardians or anyone else.
Being out of combat for 5
But
seconds
you're-
grants you a
you're
buff that reduces
dealing-
the damage of the
you're
next
dealing
base.
or taking god damage here. So now it's kind of on the receiving
I think
side.
this one's just going to be your
Deal some
support
damage
item.
if you can kind of build that up a bit more. But if you're
I
taking
think this one
damage,
is
you're
just
being hit a lot.
this
Now
one
you're
is just
stacking this
100%
too.
the best support
Step
one.
2, after you finish the first step, you successfully damage an enemy god 20 times with basic attacks or abilities. So now you're damaging them back. Now this is always like you want to be aggressive. You want to hit enemy gods specifically. It won't work off of minions or towers, but be aggressive. And then for your reward, being out of combat, which is the 5 seconds, you get a buff that reduces the damage of the next basic attack or ability by 20%.
Yeah.
So you do
Okay.
your thing. You kind
This
of
one
move
actually
between the fights,
scales
every time you
really
come out of
well.
combat, you'll
20%
get,
mitigation
a
on the
little
next
bit
ability
tankier
that
the
hits
time
you.
engage.
Yeah.
I guess it could be a little not as great, but say Scylla is like sitting around a corner and you're like walking through the jungle.
You feel pretty good.
Yeah, who can eat the most wings by the end of the game?
Is that how it
Let's
is?
find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time you're
Instead of getting hit for 1,000 damage, you're getting hit for like 800 or something like that.
You're off the internal cooldown. You should eat a bow and it refunds the cooldown.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay.
We added like every god has pockets full of food.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it
Greasy
works.
pockets.
So yeah, you're gonna see Mercury pull like a handful of punch out of his pocket and just kind of just
You just got like one of those like hats, right? That just filters.
yeah, the drink
party
hat.
punch.
You're exactly right.
Can you come back into lane? Yeah, then
Oh,
you step
man.
out of combat for
Bacchus
5
has that one.
seconds.
Well, with that he does. With that cursed image in my head. So there are a few additional notes here at the bottom if y'all want to go over. Just little.
Yeah, we
little
kind of did this in a preface, but we can run through them again
Yeah,
really
you
quick.
definitely did.
You can only ever have one recipe at a time. You can only ever purchase one recipe, but that's after you complete a step. Once you've completed a step, you can no longer buy a new recipe, but anytime before that first step is done, feel free to swap them out. Of course, you will lose progress on the one that you have if you do want to swap it out, but until that first step is done, you are free to change out, but again, once you have done that first step, you can't buy it again. We talked about this earlier, but the item is slotted automatically in the last inventory
I think the
slot.
Hunter one is the only that really
to incentivize
changes
people to
like
hang
how the
on to
game
it
is going to play.
until they need that true last item, sixth item
It
slot.
just also helps you distinguish it because it's like everyone generally is going to be having this. So when you press that tab screen, look at the scoreboard.
know
like
exactly
you can see
what
like
it
all the starter items.
Yeah.
And you see on the other side, you can see all the
Yeah.
recipes. It just has this great mirroring effect.
Yeah, if you do want to sell it for any reason, it's sold for 0 gold, so you're not really getting anything from it in that instance. So again, hang on to it until you really need to get rid of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah, it's
starter
free.
item
So you get
section
this and
will
a
be starter
starter.
items / recipes now, and that's where you can find them. And then again, Party Punch is not available in Arena and Assault, and that's
Got it.
for your own good. We
Yeah,
tried it.
that's-
Promise, it's not that good.
Yeah, it won't work for you. We swear. So as
someone who made that mistake.
it'll be fine. All right, well, cool. Super excited for those. Super excited to be hungry while playing Smite, which
I'm excited to try
you
those
need
though.
like a food sponsor
I
now.
think
too,
the,
just like to go
the
alongside
Bountiful
this.
Bow
any
one could
food
also be
sponsors out
decent
there, hit
solo
us up.
lane.
We will literally do it in a heartbeat. So 'cause we're all foodies here. So let's move on to some more general item balance, all right? Because obviously there's plenty of item balance, and I said this.
Almost
at the
Solo
beginning
might
of the
not have
show.
to
Usually
go
this is where I'd
Golden
say,
Blade anymore.
We're not covering every single item. Check out the update notes, and you still should.
It's like a
but
lot of
I'm not sure.
a lot
if
of
they're
Golden
live
Blade
quite
gods
yet,
just
but
don't
as
have to
soon
go
as the
Golden Blade
website
anymore.
starts
I think you'll
working
still do it
again,
on
we're
like
gonna get it
Mercury
out, but
because it's
as-
such a
as
cost
luck would
efficient
have
item.
it, we sat down. We were like, all
Like
right,
Kali
notes are
doesn't need to do it
ready,
anymore.
I slaved over them. I whipped him up, not quite as hard as the durable drumstick, but I tried.
On Alma, I'd
And,
probably just go Berserker's
and then
Rush.
They were like, website, not
Or like
today,
a,
champ. So
Frostbound,
turns out
maybe.
404 error got handled.
If it's like a
So as
free-ish
soon as
laning
that's
phase.
up, you can go and check out anything we don't talk about. But we have some pretty cool balance we're going to get into. Starting with
All right, what do
some
we got?
starter items. So Mannequin Scepter, Mannequin Mace, both kind of getting a change.
Yeah, so in this pass, we wanted to have a look at some of the
Nice!
specifically 2 of the different
Huge!
passive items that were starter items that were underutilized a little bit, less exciting. So Mannequin
Not
Scepter being one
trolling,
of them.
actually
Simple one
game
use would be
changing.
Reducing the gold. Usually that's kind of just almost like an offhanded change that you see for tier 3 items, but for starter item that actually means a lot. That means
No,
you can compare it to
huge.
the other one, you can get 2
Yeah.
more pots, you're 100 gold.
Actually
closer to your your next actual item. So that one's going to be a big change there for Mannequin Scepter. Mannequin's Mace being the upgrade that wasn't as favorable if you did go Mannequin Scepter. Well, now it's got 50% attack speed on it, which is a really big deal.
Yeah, that's big.
You know, we wanted to make sure that we found an opportunity to add a stat that we thought would be very helpful for that effect and for the builds that you go for mannequins. And we also increased that health just by a little bit.
That's pretty good.
75 to 100 to incentivize giving that a try. You know,
that's pretty good.
To dial this back down later on, that's fine. But we have some really other strong jungle options as well. So we wanted to make sure that this felt competitive.
I think,
bring it up in a
this is actually pretty good.
So, next up, it looks like we have a kind of a trio of shrouds: vampiric, blood-soaked, and sacrificial, all kind of on the
rebalance all these.
These guys were never really the most popular mage starter items, and with the change to lifesteal back in 10.3 for the season, I hope that whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did a lot of healing.
Slightly more sustain and slightly more mana sustain.
You know, people have not been going towards that option very much, and so we want
the problem with this one is not this starter,
because the starter is getting a couple of.
It's not this item that's the problem. It's the upgrades are just bad. Do you want Pendulum or do you want one of the Vamp Shroud upgrades or the what's it called? Soul not Soul Gem.
Also another
gem
one of those lifesteal changes. Blood Soaked, the first one, is getting the lifesteal change from
still bad.
12%.
This item is
so again up 2%.
This is supposed to be like a battle mage item, and it's just bad because it doesn't give any survivability outside of a little bit of health.
A little bit more healthier stat-wise for that late game part.
It's not on par.
Sacrificial Shroud, which is generally the more popular item, we wanted to be careful about
it doesn't do anything
because of the increased damage aspect of it.
If you try a build where
you
sell your starter late game,
so even though you are,
I think the Vamp Shroud tier 1 is pretty good. Vamp tier 1 is actually really good.
You will be able to get a little bit more.
Vamp tier 1 is probably the best.
Awesome. Sounds good. I mean, Anubis player.
The best for fighting, period. And it's not close.
Since he could walk.
Sands helps you farm a little bit better. Conduit is really good if you have like bad clear. But Vamp is actually really good.
So like we said, we've got some of these general items now.
Not the problem with the item. It's just really niche.
It was one of the ones that it never quite took off.
It's just too niche, this item.
That we were, I wouldn't say the most concerned about, but one we definitely wanted to have an eye on when we were working on it internally. CC immunity is not something that we take lightly. And I think what is the internal dev numbers? I think it might have been actually double at like 2 seconds or something like that.
We found very high when we tested it.
We found the middle ground of the 1.5 seconds. We want to try this out, see how it feels.
Yeah.
We do think that there is a break point, and if this gets too good, it's going to be picked up all the time. So, maybe we need to look at the stats some more later on, but we think the passive does.
No, the stats are fine. Again, the item is just too niche.
A little bit higher, it can get too strong.
Got it. All right, continuing down the A train, we have Aussie.
Yeah, so Aussie is kind of another one of those hunter items that has fallen off in recent
That's
metas
so
due to
good.
lifesteal changes and a shift to it that we did rather recently to make it more of a high power item to slot better into Transcendence builds versus Dev Gloves, which is more of your basic attack oriented build. But anyway, Aussie was just not the easiest option to go in that second slot because it did lose its pen in that interaction.
I think this is
but
good.
In this kind of change
think
here,
this
we're
is
hoping
good.
to give it a little bit more.
I think it might still be slightly worse than Dev's.
Slot by making it a little bit
but if you're
cheaper,
playing a
50
brawling
gold,
hunter
again,
on her,
power
stuff
to
like that,
45, which is no joke.
It's
no joke
Aussie's
now.
better.
You might look at 45 power and go, that doesn't feel like that much. But
the threshold is kind of the biggest part of it.
And the gold items, and they're hitting 50 power, 60 power, 45 is
that power
really close to that.
There. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that does actually help it quite a bit. And the last thing that we're doing to Aussie is we're increasing the passive health threshold from 50 to 60, which we've done a little bit across the board just to experiment with how this feels. And generally, it has been very exciting to have that a little bit more often. Have that feeling of extreme, I can fight back now feeling. So we are excited to see how
I think that's some good love to the item. It's good love to the item. I think it's okay.
Is next up. Also a little cheaper, getting some love.
Yeah, just a little bit of help there. Roshan's one of those items that a lot of players want to pick it up, especially when enemies have the shield.
Honestly, this too.
But they just found
the item
not to be as valuable, or a little
it's statted pretty poorly.
So with a little bit of the gold shift, and now it just lets you feel less bad about picking it up.
It's
but
good.
also, more specifically, the raise
a lot better.
increase.
They have shields build the item now.
Easier to apply.
It felt not great before because 30 units was tiny.
Attack range, which was 55 for the
40 feels a little bit better though.
Because that's just on all the time. That's just an aura that's hard to come to circumvent. This still should require a little bit of a counterplay mechanic.
I like that. That's good.
If you only want to affect someone and
really good patch so far, honestly.
Just be around the vicinity.
I gotta try the recipes, but it's a really good patch so far.
Better at all angles.
Well, I've always loved its card art at least, so I'm super happy. Super happy. I don't know. It's really cool. I love
It
that
does
like
look
dark
really sick.
green. Like I absolutely adore it. So next up, Mail of Renewal on the change list.
Yeah, so this was another support item that kind of fell off a little bit with the introduction of Prophetic Cloak at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Healing got a bit of a change, which also knocked it down a couple pegs. So we wanted to make sure that Mail of Renewal kind of had a little bit of a place. And so we are kind of doing a little bit of a squish here where you get less stacks. We're increasing the amount of protections per stack, and we're decreasing the internal cooldown of the heal. So theoretically, it will be not only easier to get the big heal, it will be happening more frequently, in theory. So it will generally just happen more often, so you can really feel that strength of that heal.
I don't know.
Hey,
I think this item is okay.
So,
Well, you won't love to hear this. I'm sorry.
But if you get,
it looks like
okay.
we sharpened Toxic Blade a little bit.
it's just not
Yes,
Thebes.
exactly. Toxic Blade, is going to be still. So, Toxic Blade has. Yeah, it's just like, where do I want to start with this one?
All right.
Toxic Blade is an item that I think the community.
Mannequin's
and
buff
is
on
a
top of
little bit
Toxic
split about
Blade.
still in which
You always have to be
direction
so
go.
careful with those two items
Anytime
because
we
those two
revisit
items
it and look at its stats, look at its price point. It's still
carry
just like,
jungle warriors.
It's very stat efficient. What it does and its passive that it has is still very good. There's a world where if we just trend along these lines and make sure that it feels appropriate for what it has, it will be worth picking up for what you're trying to do with the anti-heal effects. However, we know that there are other options out there. By increasing its pen and not just like providing physical and magical power in abundance, we're trying to make sure that it feels like it's the right choice for the aggressive characters that who want to pick it up, whether it's going to be the in-hand warriors or hunters or even mage ADCs.
Or you go something like
alongside
Aussie
some of the
Toxic
other
Blade.
options. If you don't want to go divine,
You're
Ruin,
never
if you don't
losing
wanna go
1v1.
speed stick or anything like that.
Yeah.
You have a good basic attack focused item.
I just think it's
we're going to keep workshopping on this one if we think that this didn't quite
it's
hit the
weird
mark.
building Toxic Blade
We're not
anywhere.
gonna blow this penetration to like
That's the
50 or
problem
anything
with
like
it.
that, just to
You
keep
build
along
it
the same
early,
lines.
and then it
But
feels like
we
you don't
do
have
think
that good
there's a
spike
way-
like
a
other people
successful
have.
path
You build
to
it
this
late,
item, along its current route.
and then you just
Well, cool.
If we're wrong and we're proven
aren't getting
otherwise, I
like the
think that's
true
something that
value
we
from the
definitely
1v1 of this
can look
item.
into in the future.
Awesome. I mean, hey, if there's one thing that I always love about, I mean, all of us in general, but y'all's team who do a lot of this
High power
balancing
per
work,
stack?
it's that
That'd be
you take
busted.
feedback very
What the fuck?
directly.
Are you a
And
hunter
every
player?
time the community has something and they're like, hey, listen, like, this needs to happen. This item needs to be, this god needs to be, whatever. Y'all are really good at looking at that and working with it. So it's something I've always respected about your team. I like with how many things you have to juggle, being able to take all of this feedback and like make it life it's impressive. So I'm at least a huge fan of y'all.
Appreciate it.
So moving out of items and into gods.
Ooh.
All right, this makes me laugh because I do writing for the show. I write the update notes, but they come from all of the cool balance that these people work on. And when we get this document that starts going over what we're going to change, what they're looking at, they sort it into sections. We have like some buffs, some nerfs, this and that. And the header for this time around was gods spicy changes.
Yeah.
And it killed me. So next up we have some spicy changes.
All right. I was writing that part and I was like, I don't know if there's a better way. These aren't reworks. These aren't like heavy. Like these are heavy shifts. They're just spicy and
I like this.
Celebration
I like
where
this.
We're cooking up a storm.
I like this.
Still just the right thing.
Yeah,
to
we
do.
gotta put some spice, somewhere else
Yeah.
as well. Gotta spread the love.
Yeah.
But,
spread the spice.
They kind of want to say
As Patch
rework
Notes
or
and
like
blog posts might
rebalance,
say,
but they are
these
not.
changes
So I think
and
it's going to be
classic clumsy preamble.
somewhat like a rebalance.
These
Classic.
changes aren't.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. They're not reworks. They're not on the heavy shifts. It's something like we did, for ESET or Longshen or anything like that. But they're close. They're the next best thing. They're spicy god balance.
They certainly are.
We wanted to target some of these characters who might be underperforming or also are underutilized and aren't picked up as much as frequently. Some of these gods have slightly changed since we worked on this list, but for the most part, we felt pretty safe on just breathing new life to these characters in simple enough ways. Some of these changes are a lot more simple than others. Some of these changes are heavy on the spice factor, and you're going to need some ice cream or milk after it.
Awesome. Well, hey, I love to
Very
hear.
dairy.
All right, because I love big changes. I love when things change. So let's
Marty
dive
said
head
nerf.
first.
Me too.
There's a whole bunch of stuff for each of these, and we're just gonna kick it off with Apollo, kind of in the hunter's realm.
Go for it.
All right, so Apollo is a very
Apollo!
young hunter, right?
That's true.
He's from what?
Looks kind of young, but
Well, not age-wise, but
It's God who knows,
age-wise.
right?
Yeah, so he's one
like
of the
it.
oldest hunters in the game, and so we wanted to just give him a little bit more
Kind of.
spice, for lack of a
Yeah.
I wish it
better
was-
term, right?
I wish it
So
was
Let's start off at the beginning.
increased
with
basic attack
Audacity.
damage.
Okay.
So normally how this works is you get a couple basic attacks.
I wish
you
that's
charge
what it
them
was.
Passive, and then your next
And
couple
not
shots
basic attack
have
projectile
increased attack
speed.
But we wanted to give it a little bit more than that. So now those shots also have increased basic attack projectile speed. So they come out faster.
something you might have seen like Griffin wings and stuff.
Yeah, tech we got with Griffin
putting that into the kit.
Okay.
Yep. And then additionally on top of that, so beautiful. This is the one. This is your main clear.
Yeah.
And also your poke. So this projectile speed is
This
going
is good.
up as
This is a
well,
good
from
change.
110 to 150. So you're not really gonna know what those numbers mean per se.
But it's
a noticeable amount.
That is good.
It's not
This is
like
a really good one.
Scary amount. Like you can
This
still
is
definitely
really
react
good.
to it, but
The scaling
it's
is kind of whatever.
More,
But it's
I
so
do this
beautiful.
and I'm done.
It's
You
so
don't
hard.
have to
It's
worry
so
about,
hard to
like,
hit.
I have to get really close to them or really account for it. This is a little bit better as a ranged poke now than where it was before. That you had to be a little bit closer for the projectile to actually reach.
It should stack with Griffin
and
wing.
on top of that, we do also just want to give it a little bit more of that poke potential towards the late game.
Yeah.
So we're increasing that scaling by 5%.
Nice.
All right, let's move on. Serenade. This is the 2.
Oh, holy fuck.
This now also provides Apollo magical protections.
This
as
used to
well
be
as
magical and they
physical
changed
protection.
it.
This actually was a feature that Apollo had all the way back in beta. And it got removed.
in beta, right?
And now it's
Oh, I
back.
thought it was somewhat recent.
We looked at the change. We're like, this is something that we can add. And we're just like, wait a second. Did he ever have like?
He did.
We,
I went into it.
I see. I don't know if this even brings him back.
And I scrolled and I scrolled and I scrolled.
And like an hour later, 10 years
And we
of
saw,
scrolling
yep,
later.
he did have it. So we will be giving him equal amounts magical protection.
Yep.
Got it.
So,
I think
he's
the
not
2 is a lot less
not
relevant
a great matchup.
I mean, it helps him
against
against magical gods, but how many
And then
times is he
finally,
taking
for
damage from a
Apollo,
magical
across
god?
the sky. This ultimate is a lot of fun when you get to ride around in the sky and have a good time, but sometimes it feels like you're taken out of the action for a little bit too long. So we've decreased the landing time by 0.2 seconds, and that might not feel like that much time, but believe me, when you're crashing down into the middle of 5 people, that extra 0.2 seconds
that
will
is
be a lot.
Yeah, it
Wait.
changes.
So additionally on top of that, we didn't want the damage to actually change for that, so we changed the tick rate down. Or rather, we increased the tick rate, but
This
the
is
actual time per
crazy.
tick went down.
Reduced.
So you're still doing the
this
same amount
top
of damage.
buff
The ticks are just coming a little bit faster.
Yep.
Knockout
Is
totally
crazy.
unchanged. And then additionally on top of this, the mana cost has been decreased
The mana
pretty
cost is-
significantly at the late game.
Seems like
Only a small amount at the early
You're still running
game.
out of mana
So
at
you
this
will be able to
point. You're
fly
running out
around
of
a
mana
bit
at this
longer.
point.
You
You're running
won't
out of mana
have
at
to
this
really
point.
be kind of, stuck
Maybe when you're
into
getting
that
up to
transcendence
50,
build, if you do
55, and you have
want
like a
to fly
Dom or
around a lot,
something, you won't
can kind of
feel
do
it
without
as
having
bad.
to worry about going into a mana item.
Got it. That's.
But
I mean, all of
it's
that
a
was
pretty irrelevant
crazy, you know, 'cause
buff
to see
early. You
damage
still can't ult to
changes
fights.
and,
You
know,
can't ult
cooldown
to lane,
changes, That's very. That's
which is like the
standard
worst
balance.
part.
That's bringing things.
I
in to
still
make
think
them
that they
as
should
even
make
as
it
possible, but when you get
like
into
10
stuff like
seconds, and
projectile
every 5
speeds or,
seconds in
like,
the air, it doubles or
speed of
something
your-
like that, or
That's not
fucking
something that we
something
typically
like that.
Those are.
'Cause you just run out of mana. You can't ult anywhere.
All right, well, let's continue on with.
Still
another
good though.
hunter.
That's
We have
good love.
Chernobog.
I like that.
Yeah, Chernobog, not as old, but one that has like a couple of like, points of weakness per se, and it's not always that we want to.
It's just
you know,
laning
cause
phase is
those
weak.
weaknesses
I
to just
really
be
hope they don't
newfound
buff his laning
strengths,
phase. He's already
but
such a
sometimes
frustrating
that we just
character to
wanna
play
make sure
against.
that we tweak those weaknesses so that we can make his playstyle just feel a little bit more fair at all times, and kind of just balance the character to make them feel slightly more well-rounded. So crystallized curses, something that we've played around with a little while ago. We're going to just make sure we kind of make this feel the best we can. In this circumstance, we're increasing the projectile speed, similar to Apollo's 1.
Yeah.
The crystallized curses, the first ability, will be increasing in its deploy time. Getting to the ground a little bit faster in 2 different ways. The projectile speed is increasing as well as the minimum air time is decreasing. So that way, if you're just doing it right underneath by your feet, it's getting to the ground even faster.
Okay, cool.
The collision
I
radius is
don't
actually
mind
gonna be
any of it,
increasing a little bit.
but
20 to
this
25.
part
this just means that when you're using
is
your second
fucking
ability to proc that
crazy.
first one, you can actually just do it with a little bit more room. You don't have to kind of like line it up perfectly.
Yeah, so the visuals are not
This is
changing
gonna
at
be
all, but it will
fucking
slightly easier to
obnoxious.
hit.
Yep. And then, so this one's an interesting one. This ability will now slow enemies on the initial hit specifically, not on the secondary hit, but on the initial hit. And this can kind of help, whether it's in team fights, just provide a little bit of CC, or if you want to, get someone in a good circumstance, or maybe even like delay and get your 2 into to that scenario where you can actually pop it a little more safely. You can
So
now
he
get that
has a
This is also
slow
gonna be
into a
shift,
route.
because actually this slow is being removed from his third ability into darkness. So some of these spicy changes aren't always.
mean, that's
buffs,
just an
they're actually
outright
playing
buff.
around with the kit.
Yeah.
So into darkness, the slow has been removed, and in exchange, it's you're actually going to be traveling a little bit faster. So what that dash speed itself will be a little bit quicker, and the damage itself is going to be going up.
Yep.
Also, finally,
The
Vicious
damage is
Barrage
irrelevant.
That attacks him.
The
we shifted
slow
the
getting
duration
removed is
here.
pretty
So
irrelevant.
again, a shift, not just a ubiquitous buff, from 3 to 5 seconds to 4 seconds at all ranks. And the reason why is because we actually decreased the cooldown by 5 full seconds, from 12 seconds to 7 seconds, decreasing the mana cost alongside with it. And the idea here is that you're going to be having less uptime or less uptime of the actual buff itself in the late game, but you can just do it more frequently. You can kind of just get
I kind of like that.
because it's not just in attack speed sim, it's also just that large travel through projectile as well. That
This makes them.
It does basic attack
yeah,
damage, yeah.
So
This
you
is
can just do
cool.
that loop
In my
even
opinion,
faster,
I
kind of
like
just
this.
Weaving that in more
It is
often
obviously
in
a
between
buff,
your
in my
actual
opinion.
kit.
Awesome.
Actually, I think it's
Just
just
shift
outright a
the
buff.
way
It's
you
not just
play
my opinion.
and
It is
not
an outright
just, you
buff.
know, just
But I think that's
force
cool.
Yeah.
A character
Super
with like a
cool. And
low
again, continuing to be
timing
spicy.
buff
Looks like
that he
we're
can
kind of
proc
getting out
multiple
of
times
focus
makes
now,
it so it's
and
not you're just not
exactly.
reliant on
the
that first one that's
assassin.
right away.
Yes.
So, starting
Like
with
Artemis, you
Arachne,
fight on your
that's
2, and then as
spider.
soon as it's down,
Yes,
you're pretty irrelevant for a
Arachne
bit.
is a notorious character amongst the Smite balance.
5
team.
seconds on his
She
2, it's
is
4
a pub stomper
4
through
seconds
and
on his
through,
2.
But when it comes to late game team fights, she really struggles. So our main goal with this
Oh,
was
unless
to
you
give her
mean
a little
buying
bit more
cooldown.
flexibility when it comes to those late game fights, and to have extra tools going into actual team fights. That's not just picking off one person at a time and then running away. But first thing that we want to talk about here is Cocoon. So this is going to sound really scary when I said it at first, but just hang on a second.
It's scary reading.
Hang with me here.
Okay.
We are decreasing the amount of hits that is required to stun from 3 to 2. And you might say, that's insane. It is very good.
It is
But
crazy.
the thing about Cocoon in its current state in Live Smite is that when you complete that stun, you lose the attack speed sim.
Wait.
And that happens regardless of what you hit, as many Arachne players will know. But now, the actual stim will not go away until, it's actually fully done. You can activate it, it's going to stay for the entire duration. But again, because it's changing, we want to decrease that stim from 6 seconds to 4 seconds. So now you keep that attack speed the whole time. You do stun after 2. If you miss any of those shots, you're done. You can't stun anymore.
Yeah.
But you keep the stim at the very least.
On average, it's probably just a longer duration overall.
Yeah,
It's not really stunning people at the end of your attacks. You're always doing it at the beginning.
Yes. So no matter what you hit after 2, you can no longer stun, but you are going to keep that attack speed stim, same values, for 4 seconds, which is very nice. Web, as well, is going to be another interesting change where, this is maybe the ability that you max last, depending on the mode that you're in. So generally you want to make sure that she has a little bit more potential to, set them up and really use them as traps versus, just escaping or running away.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen here is that the number of broodlings that you spawn will
This
go
is bigger
up
for
at
like
rank
split pushing
5
and like
of this ability.
1v1ing.
So very, very
pretty
late
irrelevant
game
in team
when
fights
people
still.
are going to be able to kill the broodlings.
I don't
if
like
you
this
are
one.
Up against an Arachne, just
A
be
character that
prepared for
already
the 3 versus the 2. But again, rank
1v1s
5
well
will
is
be
just getting a
3 broodlings
huge
instead
buff
of 2.
to her
And
1v1ing.
then finally, Nightcrawler, the ultimate, the leap range will be from 40 to
And that's just a
50
nice
now.
buff.
So
That's a
while
good
you're
buff.
up in the air, you can leap a little bit farther. This is just
That is
really going to open
crazy.
up a lot of new pathways
That
for
is
ganks over
crazy.
walls that you previously couldn't before.
Yeah.
Or if you're trying to gank and get out, this is going to be a little bit easier to do then as well.
That is
Super cool.
crazy.
Arachne's not somebody I play all the time, but every so often you have one of those Arachne games, and it just feels good. So I love to
With
see a win
gooseberries?
for
I didn't think about
Arachne.
that.
Next up, Pele, another assassin on our list.
Yep, this one's more on the simple lines. There's only like 2 different changes, but I mean this first one's really, really spicy. Pyroclast, that's that first ability, is now going to provide 5 to 9 fuel on successful hit of an enemy.
Okay.
And just wait for the
Any
ball
enemy.
to drop for the people listening.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
that
cool.
means you previously didn't have a generator other than just time itself.
Yeah,
So when
waiting.
Pele is using that third ability,
That's cool. I like that.
And it's
I like
draining.
that.
While it's still draining, you can use and fire off that Pyroclast on any enemies.
Pele's a
Minions
cool
or gods
character
alike,
that
to start refunding.
I
that
enjoy
back.
seeing her
And
played.
The later the game goes on, the more that refund's going to matter.
I'm fine with this.
So,
This
and
is
And
fine.
you've got 2 charges of the Pyroclast,
Yeah,
which means you
that's
can
true.
refund even more.
Really get it out
That's
there.
cool. 10 out of 10. That's good.
Again,
That's spicy,
it's a
but
simple
cool.
one, but it's a large gameplay shift. It's like we want to make sure that Pele's are using the third ability and riding the volcano more often, and you can just weave that into team
I
fights
like
without
this.
having to worry about it just depleting.
These
as much
spicy
as it
changes,
currently are.
like,
And then finally for the ultimate, volcanic lightning increase
Also
the number
generates
of
fuel?
those
Oh.
empowered hits you get from 3 to 4,
Yeah.
and decrease the basic attack damage reduction, which it actually does have on those hits, from just by 10%. Just a small shift in the balance there for the damage that you're dealing, but you're getting one entirely new extra attack.
Yeah, so it definitely balances.
So you're going
out.
from
Even gives you
150
some
in
more
3
direct and
to
more direct.
160 in 4.
Super cool.
But
All right,
it's
we're
4
stepping
people.
out of Assassin
I mean,
land
you're
and
hitting, like,
diving
big
right into
4
Mage
big
land,
explosion, which is
with Raijin.
Raijin. Where do we even begin with little Raijin? He once was a terror on the streets of,
Yeah.
of
Please
Conquest.
buff Raijin.
Once
Please
upon a
buff
time. He's fallen
Raijin.
off a bit since then, and
Yeah.
a couple of buffs here and there have helped him for sure.
Bring it
But
back, baby. Bring
fundamentally,
it
we want
back.
to give him a little bit of a fresh look, and so this is going to be a very interesting change along the lines of Giannis and Serket, where Raijin will be gaining attack speed when you rank up your ultimate. You're wondering, attack speed? Why am I getting attack speed?
Raijin?
That seems strange. But the change to his passive that we've done here is that we are going to be giving him a new effect where every time he basic attacks an enemy, this can be a god, a minion, it can be anything, he gets non-ultimate ability cooldowns refunded by 0.2 seconds. So get your drums in, you know, you slam the drums and you do a couple more beats and you know, you get your practice in and then you're back in ready to go.
No way.
That kind of does also feed into his cooldown nature of his passive.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give you a little bit something to do between all of the times that you're channeling. So you're always drumming now.
Yeah. It's just like it's like a small one, but we're just like, what we're gonna do for Raijin? Well, what does he do? It's like, well, he hurts people. No, but what does he actually do?
Yeah.
He drums.
So we're just gonna make him drum better.
Yes. So now he's a better drummer. For sure. But on top of that, we've got another change to Raiju as well. We're adding an initial hit to Raiju to better allow you to, you know, feel like you're doing something with this ability versus, you know, you're trying to chase it down. At least if you hit it, you've done a little something. You've got your item procs or whatever it might be. It's just a little bit of a nicer kind of loop for you to be able to hit it and then pop it. And if you miss the pop, it's not the end of the world. And then on top of that, Thunder Crash is going to be seeing a slightly reduced pre-fire and setup time, which means that it will take you slightly less time to get into that immune state.
What
so
the
hopefully
fuck?
a little less interrupts for our boy Raijin, who seems to find himself in that situation a lot.
It hurts every time.
Yes.
Soul shattering.
Yes. So hopefully, you know, he's not going to be crazy immune all the time.
Yeah.
It's 0.1 seconds, so it's going to be literally the blink of an eye, if not even faster than that.
Cool.
But that's
What the fuck?
Okay. Awesome. So next up on the mage tree, Thoth. We got the scary bird.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
remove
scary
him.
bird, not currently quite so scary.
He's fucking terrifying.
But also, you know, one that we wanted to be a little bit more careful about. Thoth is one of those mages that, like, he's probably one of the truest artillery mages or characters in our entire game. And that has a very specific playstyle.
Oh, please.
We, you know, we wanted to be careful not to interrupt. This one is a little bit more of just like a general balance that's very focused on making sure that twofold, like as the game goes on, Thoth continues to gain in strength, which is kind of the idea in that passive. And in doing so, Thoth's going to be gaining percentage magical penetration instead of just the flat penetration.
Okay.
So game keeps going on. He's still getting better in that regard. And also, Thoth struggles a lot in game modes where he's got to farm, specifically Conquest, honestly, where you know you've got the late minions, you're hitting those gods, but you also need to dip into the jungle to get those.
Yeah, my jungler's not on my red buff and I'm playing Thoth. I'm very sad.
Yeah.
Now Hieroglyphic Assault will be dealing additional damage to jungle minions specifically.
Okay.
So he's already got some of that gameplay loop for the gods and the different ways for the AO1 or for the first ability. I say that too often. But now the jungle minions themselves.
We did not need to buff this character's
outside
PvE.
of that, Glyph of Pain, the third ability will be
We did not need to buff this character's
PvE.
PvE.
Basic attack damage through the glyph, so kind of incentivizing you to actually play with that mechanic, which I don't think many people do right now. But I mean, it is there, and it's not like I'm saying no one does. It's still important to do when you can, but now we want to just incentivize that playstyle a little bit more.
And more work.
It also helps out in jungle boss objectives and stuff like that for your team.
Towers.
Towers, absolutely.
True.
And then finally, the ultimate final judgment. Well, we just had to, wanted to reassess how good it was, and it wasn't quite reaching that level of spice, so we want to make sure, whether it's similar abilities like Ra or even like Raijin with multiple procs, how much damage is this really doing?
Bro, this ult is going to do like 3,000 damage.
Again, be aware that even with it in line, we fully understand that the Final Judgment going through the Glyph of Pain is still a good combo, and it should be because you're kind of setting that up.
Yeah,
so
it takes the effort.
But that's two abilities for
Mirrodin?
Cool. Well, fun fact, I kicked my bed frame the other day and made the same noise he makes when he ults. So that was just thought you deserved to know that. That's for everybody.
Mirrodin, Thoth, shooting through his ult through his 3 is going to do like 3,000 damage.
We have King Arthur getting some love, getting some spice.
Yeah, this might be the longest list of changes.
The longest list of, well, he's got a lot
we've done
going
today.
on,
But
so,
let's
dive into it.
Yeah, let's dive in, shall we? So first up, Steadfast, his passive. A lot of people go, King Arthur has a passive.
Oh no, not the mitigation,
It's
man.
very good passive.
It's very good, actually, but we're going to make it a little bit better. We're shifting it a bit.
Okay.
So first thing that we're doing here is we're decreasing the duration from 15 seconds to 10 seconds. They go, Lermy, that's a nerf. And I go, yes, you'll see why.
Yeah, hold on.
So the max stacks are also being decreased from 4 to 3, so you just have to hit less abilities now to get it fully stacked, which is nice. So your damage mitigation that you get from this ability is also going up to kind of counteract them. So from 1% to 2.5%. So
at least I don't have to play against it, baby. At least I don't have to play against it. All I got to do is say, and Arthur, going first, penta of the game.
A lot more mitigation.
That's all I got to say now.
On top of that,
I don't have to play against him. I don't have to say, guys, we need a 5-man rotate to kill the Arthur.
Does not have any inherent
I don't have to do that.
He grabs lane aggro really easily.
I got to cast his pentakills. That's all I got to do.
Even if you're grabbing the lane aggro.
I expect an Arthur ban this game. What about you, J-Mac?
HP 5 a step.
Banning Arthur?
So again,
Yeah. Let's
15%.
Yeah, set ban too? Yeah, let's get rid of set too.
HP 5. I was going to say 15% would be a lot.
Holy fuck. What is up, Double J?
Flat HP 5 if you're fully
Arthur
stacked
buff.
lane, which, you know,
I know you're a big
crazy,
Arthur
but
fan,
it does
Double J.
help.
Thank you for the raid.
It's definitely gonna
I have
Oh,
my
yeah, for
notifications
sure.
off, but
And
thank you, Double
that's just
J.
the first ability that we've worked on here. So a lot of changes there.
Yeah, you're
but
gonna
we've got some more
analyze,
coming up.
J-Mac.
We've got
I'm gonna
Battle Stomp,
complain.
which is going to be having a kind of squish on the slow. So it was going 20 to 40.
This is
now
the
it's
last
going
ability
30 to
max.
40.
You're getting
That's
30%.
The, blue stance 2.
30% for 13 levels. Actually, it's less than 13 because you're going to put points into it a little bit earlier.
An issue
But
fixed where it wasn't properly applying the protection reduction of the proper amounts. That's now fixed. Is now going to be yes, that is a buff.
Inherently.
That's why we didn't want to just put in like the bug fix section. Like this is a fixed buff.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Blade Storm, which is the
this isn't
yellow
too big.
version
It's
of the
6% different.
has its
which is, I mean, a little bit, but
base damage per swing going up
this
by 5 at
this
all
is huge.
On the actual
This 10 to 15 is huge.
And then on the final,
The 30 to 35 is a little bit less.
But
this is
huge. 5 in the early
buff.
game and a total of 25 in the late game. So you're kind of getting a little bit of a shift.
This literally is the worst ability in the game at level 1.
The second part,
and now at level 1, it's actually pretty decent.
Game where you actually need that base damage a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, that's King Arthur.
That's
4 5. I think it's
King
5
Arthur,
into
I
the
mean,
6th
How
final
many
hit.
did we have? Did we hit all of them?
No, we definitely didn't hit all of them. But I guess
Like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
like, you know,
6.
King Arthur, a character. I mean, I love playing King Arthur. I just
I
like
love
pressing the W button and face smashing all the abilities. And
Oh, yeah.
in the incorrect or correct.
30 more
orders.
damage. Well, it's also, it's like
and as much as we have seen him in the past,
you would just
even
get
with the,
out
you know, whether
traded
it's the,
whenever you
item
3
that has,
before
benefited
because the
him or
minions
not.
would be hitting you.
He's
You'd be hitting the
never
minions. You'd be
really
hitting the
been
enemy.
Strong. That's okay. Characters don't.
Now
need to
you
always
can
be
actually.
strong.
Yeah.
But with the
You're
hybrid
doing
item shifts, with
2
like,
times
the,
as many
the
damage every
changes
hit
in
now.
hit
Twice as much
strong
damage.
item stuff, he's fallen off a lot. So like this amount
Like,
of
that
blood is
ability did
something
like
we wanted to
80
make
damage
sure
at level 1.
We spread it throughout his kit. It's not really pigeonholing it on one component of it.
Yeah.
And to be completely honest, I would doubt all of these changes are going to push him to the point where he's going to be like 50% or above, and that's okay. Not a giver god needs to be.
He is like a 37%.
Yeah, he's in a
Him and
rough spot,
Osiris
but,
are 2
you
of
know,
the worst
like,
winning
you just wanna
characters in
make
the
sure
game.
that it's not the wrong choice to play a character, right?
Yeah.
That's bordering where King Arthur is currently. So
yes, he just has a lot
and
of
especially for how
variance
fun it is.
between new players and experienced players.
Exactly.
He's just a difficult character to learn, but once you master him, you feel really
I'm going to go plug my phone in quick. I'll be back.
Every time. Well, cool. Let's continue on then. Similar tree with Osiris.
Ooh, I'm excited about this one.
All right,
Yeah, this
do it.
is pretty spicy too.
Love
We've
excited.
talked about warriors in the past, and you know there's a lot to them, and we talked I think in the last patch about basic attack warriors and how
Yeah.
they've kind of struggled a little bit. Osiris has definitely been one of them through and through this year. He's struggled a lot, maybe even more so than King Arthur actually. And that's or alongside.
Well,
They're neck and neck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty
Arthur
close.
support.
Really
Fuck
share
no.
this.
They definitely share in that struggle for
no.
different reasons, but albeit Osiris has had a little bit of a struggle there. So we want to
I'll give it
help
to him
out
after
and
Light Roast.
Well, the first one, it'll definitely help, but Fragmented is passive, is going to increase the magical damage mitigation alongside the physical damage mitigation, so
Okay.
from the 1% to 2%.
This is pretty
kind of
irrelevant so
matching
far.
there. And also,
Oh, wait.
when you have your full passive
This is-
proc,
this
you're
is
gonna have
useful.
actually your attack speed increased
This
by
is
20%,
useless.
So playing on that in-hand, that
Except for
basic
bad
attack
players.
motif. Now, the more spicy one I would say is like, well, Sickle Strike. That's his first ability that generally hits the first god or first enemy that it hits.
Yeah.
And that's all it does.
It's tough to hit.
It's tough to hit.
tough.
And I know it's like the pre or mid ammo of this one. I remember being told
This
that while
character's
there's, like, a
busted.
successful Osiris,
This
you actually wanna
character
max
is
your first
fucking
one, just,
busted.
like forget the minions. Just box the hell out of the enemy. And
Yeah.
This
that's
character
challenging
is
to do that.
fucking
That's hard.
Not
busted.
easy. Easy to say, not easy to do.
But now that projectile passes through minions.
20%
and stops
useless
the
on
first
Osiris.
shot. It's
Osiris
a
should be
lot
auto
easier.
attack canceling. You
But
should
to
almost
in
never
an
be
attempt
using
to
that
make sure this
20%
still
attack
feels
speed.
fair, because like we said, we're not just
If you're using the 20% attack
trading
speed instead of
weak
auto
tier
attack canceling, you're
weaknesses
just
to strengths.
trolling and you're not using
This will
Osiris
still
correctly.
only do 50% of the total damage. So you still want to make sure that you're hitting the enemy god. You still want to get kind of the best bang for your buck there. But his clear was never really the most obvious thing to do, and it was a little bit tough and kind of something that you just got better and better as the game goes on, of course, like most warriors.
And he is known as a lane bully, right? But like it comes.
No,
with
he is known as a
being very
fucking
strong and knowing how to
lane
manage the minion
patsy
aggro,
right
and this will
now.
just be
He's
a
gonna
little
be
bit
a
better at
fucking lane
keeping
bully
the
after.
aggro a little bit more balanced.
Yep. And finally, to help with that like balance with the enemies as well, Judgment Tether, the third ability, will decrease the enemy's attack speed by 20%. So you're actually going to see a little bit of a swing there when you have
reducing
your enemy tethered by your Judgment Tether and your passive
attack
is now
speed.
fully procced, and you get that 20% attack speed yourself. You're going to see kind of a fun little swing.
This
there.
character's busted.
Also on that passive note,
This
too,
character
every time
is
you use ultimate,
actually
you get fully
busted.
fragmented, so you can actually get that attack.
You
speed
can't box him in lane.
just by proccing
Okay.
ultimate.
So Cyrus is going to bully
it's a super
just
great way
about
to win
any
engagement,
god
you know,
in the
if
game.
You have your passive
in
ready,
solo
you have
lane.
tether
That's
ready,
not like
get in there and
Yorm.
fight and box with them, fight it out. Cool. Now we're moving into an area that I have always been a big
Hades.
fan of and continue to love seeing changes in.
I think he'll still go even with like Wukong and Tyr, but he is going to be fucking
Yeah, so Athena is
fucking
one
in
of
that
our,
lane.
like, bread and butter beginner guardians that I would recommend.
And it'd be pretty bad into,
to
like,
most
fucking
players.
Sobek
If
and
you
stuff
wanna
like that
learn how to
again,
play
but-
tank, I would say Athena is like your easiest
King
go-to
Arthur?
for that. But when it comes
That's gonna be a
how she's
battle.
doing in the higher ends of play, it's a little bit more difficult because the taunt is so predictable. The dash taunt combo, as you would think, is just, you know, you see it coming from a mile away. She's got to charge it up and get in there.
Yeah.
So what are we buffing
the
on her?
main goal of this change was to give her a little bit more flexibility in how she applies her CC, and of course her safety as well when you're taunting people. So first thing that you're going to notice here is that preemptive strike, her dash, is no longer going to have a slow. And you're saying, well,
It had a slow.
it had
Okay,
a slow?
so
Yeah, I wasn't hitting people with
it's
this
no
anyway.
longer. It's probably not a charge up, or the
you
charge up
dash
is going to be
in
super
to the range
short
where you
now.
could taunt and then you do it for the most
Yeah.
part. In laning phase, it was a little bit useful, but you'll see. Hold on, just hold on for a second. Here. Let me cook. Confound. This is the taunt.
Okay.
So again, in the late game, you're taunting a hunter. This hunter's just gonna kill you.
Yeah, you're
taking
getting clapped.
3-4
That is
autos to the face. That's gonna
nice.
hurt.
You're like taunting and like trying to strafe. So
Yeah.
it's like,
That's
avoid
nice.
that.
If
And
you're
then
taunting a
wailing them, and
hunter.
your team's like, "Hey, I need to try to hit them," and it's like it's not a very
The
like
problem is,
what's the word? The
bro,
intuitive loop.
whenever you get taunted by Athena
So
anyway, your
now
autos
when
get
enemies are taunted,
desynced.
their
So now
attack
there's just
speed
like a
is decreased
guarantee
by
your autos are getting
30%, So
desynced.
you're getting hit a little bit less often as the Athena that's taunting someone. And now the piece de resistance.
The 3, buff the 3, her worst
Shield Wall
ability.
will now have a 20% slow debuff effect for 2 seconds when you hit both parts of this ability.
Okay.
Either part of this ability.
Yes, so you hit the initial, it slows, and then again it explodes after 2 seconds. So there's no way that you will have this slow on you. The first part of the slow for the second part. So it will only ever be 20%.
Yeah.
And then it will last for 2 seconds.
Yes.
So ideally you could do the 3 taunt 3 combo, but you can also just taunt them into your 3, and that will still give you that slow. So either way that you do it, it'll work out.
Or
for
don't
you.
just taunt them and just throw your 3 in a team fight. And It's
Yes.
still going to help in
Yeah,
that
either
regard.
way.
It's still just going
It will still help.
Yeah.
I
and
mean,
then on
it's a
top of
buff.
that, one more thing that we have here for Athena is Defender of
Oh.
Olympus. Now it has a new effect that the allied god that is targeted by this ability gains 20% movement speed. So you are effectively saying, I'm on the way. Get the heck in
Yeah,
there.
go.
Yeah, I was actually really curious if you're going to say get the heck out or get the heck in. And that's
both
a
work.
literally
Bro.
W play, right?
Bro,
You're like, get in there. I don't
what
care if you're at 5%
the
health.
fuck
I want to be there and
is
kill
that?
the enemy when you
Yeah,
die.
get me in there.
What?
It's
Get me in there, exactly.
The fuck?
Well, that's super cool. I love it. And
Bro,
yeah, I agree.
bro,
Be in there. It's one of
bro,
those where it's like, oh, that'll help them
bro.
escape. Oh, that'll help them run in. Like,
Bro.
definitely-
But that's
your
the point. You
poison.
get exactly. You get to choose either one.
This
So,
character?
super cool. Next up, another one of the we're talking old people in Smite. Another one of the OGs. We have Ares up in here.
Yeah, Ares.
Oh, great.
God of
What are
War,
we giving
wanted to
him?
Make sure that he felt appropriate.
Movement speed on
especially,
alt? Can he
There was
TP
a
now?
lot of push that we could have done here, but we wanted to make sure we felt fair. And
Yeah.
I'm going to put this out there. If you guys want to see more of a buff on this angle, I want to push this even further. But Ares, he's going to get his general. His basic attack damage is increased from 38 to 40.
Whatever,
Not very
that's
much,
fine. I like
but
that.
on that same angle, Ares also gains base attack damage per level from 1.55. Sorry, that's actually in the wrong place, but that's part of his general stats as well. His basic attack damage per level was 1.55. Now it's going to 4. So that means as you gain levels, you're just going to be doing more in-hand damage. This is regardless of scaling. This has nothing to do with your power. This is just
what?
your base in-hand damage. It's just getting stronger. On that same note, Bolster Defenses has a little bit of a shift here. Its duration is changing from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, but that's because now Ares and allies that are hit by the Bolster Defenses actually gain basic attack damage while that effect is active. 0 at rank 1 to just make sure it feels a little bit fair from the get-go.
This-
It's not just a one-hit wonder, but going all the way to 20. So you can see with this theme, while there are other changes, we want Ares to just be helping his teammates and himself smack enemies with that sword a little bit more often, and that like shield bash as well. Other things that's
I
been
would
happening, Shackles.
actually be
So,
baffled if this
let's see,
character
there's
is
nerfs. I
not
know
picked in
there's some nerfs
SPL.
here too. I guess the last buff is No Escape, the ultimate. 20% damage mitigation while channeling to try and keep him alive while
Oh,
that's going.
Shackles gets nerfed.
off.
But we
That's
wanted
a pretty
to make
big
sure that we
nerf.
still were assessing the changes here, because this is honestly the God that we were thinking of when we did the first initial statement of HiRez has seen a lot of change. We also did buff him in the last patch, but we wanted to make sure we still were in line with this kind of spicy God change that we were looking forward to. We just wanted to give him some help in the interim. But we're going to walk back a little bit on the shackles, decrease the God damage per tick from 25 to 105, just by 5 basically per tick on that one, to make sure that we hit him with some shifts because we wanted to give him some love, and we understand that we also don't want to just bloat these characters or buff these characters to the point where they're just overpowered.
Exactly, and we're seeing a little bit of
This
discourse
character
as well, but he is
going
kind
to
of a
be
one-trick pony
insane
at this point in time in current live Smite, where
he
hits
is
the
going
shackles and
to
they die, and
be
that's kind of the gameplay loop.
insane.
You want to give him a little bit more depth where you can kind of play this basic attack style and help your basic attack team. And especially with his passive being based around auras, you throw Shoguns on there, you throw a Talisman of Energy on there, you are really powering up those basic attackers on your team. So giving him a little bit more flexibility to have that wider, ability to be powerful in other
probably
comps where
too
you don't
much
have to be,
of a buff.
a roar and hitting every single
But
area.
these spicy changes
to be a useful character, giving
are
him
10 out
other
of 10.
ways to be successful.
I
other
would
than
take
just
every single one of
being
them.
3 chains.
Because they make the characters that have like no depth to their kit or just super boring playstyles, one-dimensional, monotonous playstyles.
Any guardian.
They make them just a lot more complicated, and like the top end, the ability to just like
that's
stretch
I'm excited about
Ares'
this.
Is this the
strengths
craziest
across like
change?
multiple different fields,
This
and
was
like
one of the first
you can
ones.
you can make him a
Honestly,
peeling
like,
god.
set-
Oh, you
set
can make
the
him
notes.
a
It's like, well,
an attack speed like Fafnir-esque god. Like
another drummer boy in a
like
different
bang
role.
on sick changes.
Yeah.
on the ground.
Exactly.
But yeah, so first up for Cabrakan is Tremors. This is the basis of every change that you're going to see.
That's right.
So this is his 3 for those unknowing of the name.
3 seconds!
Which, I don't blame you. There's a lot of abilities. But
It's
first
not even
things
worth to
first,
interrupt him
Tremors'
anymore.
mana cost is getting doubled at every single rank. So it's going from 10 to 30,
It's crazy.
20 to 60.
Oh, it's a toggle ability.
That is very,
Holy
very high, but mostly
fuck.
right. The cooldown of this ability is also going from
Love
8
this.
seconds
This
to
is
3
sick.
seconds.
That's pretty short.
That is one of the shortest cooldowns.
Also going to
in
be
the
burning
game.
through your mana pretty fast.
I
And you're probably
genuinely
wondering,
love it.
I'm going to have no mana. What
Right.
am I supposed to use my other abilities? Well, yes, you're going to be able to. Here's how. First thing that we're going to talk about, though, is that his base MP5 is going from 4.6 to 8, so it's
Almost
close
double.
to doubling. Pretty close.
That's a lot.
And he's also almost doubling his MP5 per level from 0.42 to 0.8.
Yep.
Oh
So
my
you're gonna
goodness.
have a lot more MP5, so that will just passively
It's
come
so
back to you, but
keep
there's
in
also an
mind,
active component
every
as well.
half second
So
you're beating the
Refraction Shield
ground
is getting a decreased mana cost
is 20
from
mana.
high numbers to 10.
Yeah.
Or no.
To 10.
Whatever number it
It's
was.
10
before
mana.
at
So
any
yes,
level.
you do have to spend mana to use this ability, but it's going to be in just enough so that you can get additional mana back. And so you'll be able to refund Cabrakan 10 to 30 mana per hit of any enemies.
That's right.
Minions, gods, whatever you're hitting, you'll be getting mana back. So you can burn through a lot of your mana with Tremors, but you can also get it back really easily with Refraction Shield. And if you don't have anything hit,
Bro,
it'll come back with your
They
MP5.
are cooking.
Yep. Love doing that in lane because you just get like the 6 minions and they kind of tremor and they kind of like group up even a little bit and you smack them all with 2.
Smack them and your mana's back.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
of your mana back, if
Yeah,
not more.
exactly.
Cool cycle. Hey, as a Nerd Rage Cabrakan player, it's going to be a lot of rage, It's going to be fun. So, all right, well, that does it for the spicier of the changes. We're going to go through some a little less spicy, still important, still good, but just a little less spicy changes on the buffs and nerf side.
I'm
And
gonna
again,
hit you with the post amble. One more thing.
please.
These changes, obviously, we were very cognizant.
I was just
about,
cooking 10 out of 10 of the best patches all
cautious
time,
about
all my
doing
life,
changes like this.
banging
This is not something
sheesh
that we're gonna
100.
do
Oh
all the
my
time.
fuck,
This is something
this
that,
is
we
such
saved
a
for
sick
special
patch.
occasion for characters that we think definitely needed the most.
Such a sick patch.
We are definitely very understanding that all of these are, for the most part, buffs, and it's going to cause these characters to be stronger. They generally all needed it, and it's something we're going to keep as we do
Game
with all
sucks at
balance, but I
balancing.
wanted to do
Can somebody
a
give me
special
mod in
disclaimer
Smite
here.
game chat?
We're absolutely going to be keeping an eye on what this
This
does
game
to these
sucks.
characters, whether they go over the point
You
of balance,
suck.
whether it's perceived or statistical, and if we need to dial things back a little bit, whether it's part of these changes or alongside it, we will absolutely do so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely
looks like
hit us
it.
with your feedback,
Looks like a JMac.
whenever PTS things go live, or just from 3D crafting, and we're excited to see what you guys think.
Yeah, and if you like to see these changes, these kind of changes, we definitely would love to work on more of them. They do take some time in the kitchen, though. We do want to put a lot of care and,
Yeah, 25
and
or
effort into making
24
sure
is
these changes
just-
actually feel good and don't break things.
That is insane.
Fundamentally with the kit, because
Especially
some of
you
these
just go
characters are
Manticore
old, right?
most likely.
Sometimes that you know, different hands being on characters that have passed
Yeah,
through
no,
the
this
generations
is a good
of
patch. This is a
developers.
really good patch.
You know, sometimes we'll not be able to do everything that you wanted to do, but you know, we like to work with what we have and kind of get a little, what's the word?
I think mages get around 16
I can't even
MP5.
think of it. You're getting a little spicy with it.
Exactly.
Is basically the
A
idea.
little crazy.
We're not hitting these gods arbitrarily. That's the main thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a lot of testing to actually go through and like, can we do all these cool things? Like, will it work? Will it feel good? We had, you know, weeks of testing that we were like, okay, let's pick Ares this test. Okay, let's pick a bracket. Let's just like make sure that we're having lots of different people try. We had the esports casters come in and try this. So
okay,
we had,
not me.
all
Not
kinds
me.
of eyes on these changes as well.
Yeah,
Not
every,
me.
I mean, every skill
It
level,
wasn't me.
We have people who are like,
Not
you know,
me.
I played Arena 6 times.
Not
We're
me.
like, come try this out. We want to know
I
how
didn't
it feels from
test.
somebody who doesn't play the game.
Don't
as
blame
much.
me.
Then it'll be the casters or pros. Like, it's crazy the amount of work
Unless
that goes
they're
into
good.
it and the amount of listening we do to the community to try
And
to
I tested.
try to figure out what we can change to make y'all have the most fun. Because again, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. You know, is how can we make this as fun as possible? So thank you for the preamble. I love the preambles. So this is the premium spot, pre and post ambles.
And mid ambles.
And mid ambles too. We should coin that. All right. So let's get into some more general buffs and nerfs. I'm gonna say it again.
There's
Might not be
more?
live right now. Probably not. They want to be live. We're trying to get them live.
Just like
But-
will them into existence like they are right now.
I'm working on it. Well, I've printed out I was gonna print out like 70 million copies and ship them to everybody watching the show, but I like trees, so sorry.
Oh, fair enough. You know,
Yeah.
Sylvanas is thanking you.
Yeah, exactly. I did it for him. So anyway, they'll be up. These
Even
are
if
all
they're
of the
not
changes. You'll be able
spicy?
to look over more of them when those notes aren't able to go live. Whenever
I'll
we
take
fix
it.
the internet, one band-aid
Yeah,
at a
fix
time.
it.
Working on it. But here are a few of them that we thought were worth talking about, starting with Amaterasu.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so Amaterasu. Last patch we did.
What do they even
I feel
buff with
I'm doing a
Ama?
recap. Last patch.
Last patch.
Hey, it's a Lurby preamble. Let's go.
Last
Last
time
patch,
on Update Show.
We had a couple items that saw some changes for our basic attack warriors, but Ama was still kind of falling behind the
Dash
pack.
damage?
She was not really keeping up, even though we did buff basically all of her items. So we wanted to give her individually a couple of buffs as well. So first things first, Illuminating Strike's debuff duration is going to be increased from 5 seconds to 6 seconds.
Okay.
So not only is the actual like circle debuff area going to last
it getting
longer,
bigger?
but you now have more time to actually
Oh.
apply that debuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
by
that's
1 second, so you know it's not
decent.
crazy, but it is significant.
If you're
And
playing
secondly,
solo
Divine
Ama, you can
Presence
walk
is
hit
her
the Fire
one
Giant and then
on
go
use
zone for 5
whenever you
seconds
are
and then walk
healing.
back
So,
in.
you know, when you use that ability, you get a tick heal, basically over time. Amaterasu will gain attack speed for that whole time that you are healing. So when you change the stance, you get 4 seconds of attack speed, and then once that healing
She's
is
gonna
done,
be
you no longer
at,
have the
like,
attack speed.
I just love it. It's like, you know,
2.0
we've
attack speed.
identified God buffs
with
and, like,
Vital
spicy
Amplifier.
God buffs, and even just giving Amaterasu attack speed on this didn't quite hit the spice factor.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's
You had the salt, but you didn't have the pepper.
close.
Yeah.
It's very close. It's not quite there.
You zhuzhed it up, but you forgot that last little bit. So, but it's still a good change. Awesome. Next up, one of our favorite little tricksters, Maui, actually getting some.
Yeah, Maui God that has
It should be alt
entered the
cooldown.
battlefield and was
Or
was
some sort of
striking pretty
cooldown, I
hard,
think.
left
showing up
presence.
everywhere. But even at the times where he was at his strongest, he was one of those characters who just like never was actually doing that strong for the
I mean,
masses.
it's
for
a good
the casual
buff.
players. Honestly, sometimes when we say things like this, we don't just mean for the casual players or for other game modes. We also just mean for like even like the ranked conquest players all the way up to like masters or something like that.
Yeah.
He was there a lot, but he might not have been doing too well, so he needed a little bit of love, and we wanted to make sure we spaced that to the time that would be appropriate. So
Yeah.
Master Fisherman getting a cooldown decrease
It's
from
good.
16
It's
to
a good buff.
14 to 14 to 12. That's 2 seconds at all ranks. It's pretty
Oh, yeah, that's
sizable.
Great.
Increase the damage as well from 100 to 360.
Damage is pretty
to
irrelevant.
100 to 380, so nothing in the early
I mean, it helps,
game
like,
where you're
solo
getting a lot of
Maui.
benefit from that cooldown, but hitting for the late game and for the mid as well.
Yeah, a little more.
He clears Archer, if I
Lua,
recall,
decrease the mana
at
cost
all
from 55
points
to
once he gets
75 to 55
another
at all
point into
ranks.
his
Just a
one.
simple one there, just so you don't feel as punished for tossing the Lua out to your teammates. And as you can see,
I don't like how
simple change
spammable
there.
the
We
two
don't
is,
wanna
but
go crazy with Mao. We know he still has a lot of potential. That ultimate is still fantastic for team fights, but just get him a little bit more in line.
Yeah,
Super
exactly.
cool. All right, so next up, we have Charon.
Yeah, so this is a nerf. Just to clarify, we're heading into
we're
nerf
on the nerf
territory.
no.
So Charon has been surprising us. We're so excited to see people excited and playing him up in the ranked, but he's doing really well in basically
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single game mode. And
Turns
I'm like,
out boat's OP.
yeah, he's pretty good.
Please
A lot of
don't
that
hit his
comes with
cooldowns.
his safety, but the first thing that we want to talk about here before we get to that,
Or they could do his dash
which is
cooldown.
the attack speed slow circle that reveals and shields, all that good stuff. But we are going to be decreasing that attack speed slow from 30% to 25%.
That's fine.
Make it a little bit less annoying.
It is a little
especially
strong
because it is
in
an
the
ability that
2v2
comes up relatively
and in
often.
late game.
It is
It's
kind of
fine.
hard to hit, so you do have to hit this kind of medium-sized circle.
Yeah.
But when it does hit, we want it to be just a little bit less effective. And now, finally, we can talk about his safety.
Safety. The
So,
paddle.
Swift Voyage, when he just paddles like mad.
Add a second,
This-
maybe
this
2.
cooldown was 15 seconds for a 2.5-second channel.
That's fine.
But now it's
Okay,
going up to
this is
17
irrelevant.
seconds.
It doesn't
down to
change the
15
character.
seconds At rank
Makes him
5.
slightly
So he
less
still
safe in
will
laning
get to that
phase.
same
He does
late-game
level his
safety
ability
level when he
last,
probably needs it
so
the
it
most,
is
you know,
half
but
the game,
in
the
early
first
game,
20
he will
minutes.
not be as safe. It will be 2 seconds longer on that cooldown for him.
The first like 20 minutes of the game, he's going to be sitting at 17-second cooldown on his dash. I think Prophetic is still needed, so it's 17 down to 15 instead of 15 down to 13-ish. It does hurt him. I don't think it changes anything with him. He's still got a lot of his same strengths. He still scuffles really well. So
That's true. I
Shouldn't
do love
matter.
the boat. All right. Next on the list, Jormungandr.
Yeah, honestly, not
Ban
one
him.
that I thought would be on this list anytime soon,
yeah,
and
right?
one that
A
I'm still
little crazy.
surprised is there. A guy that we've been trying to buff throughout the year, and he finally reached that point. Whether it's the item changes, I think that were a pretty big help with the shifts on the tankier builds. But once people started playing him, the stats shot up. He has been doing very well. It's quite the opposite.
Yeah, that's
so,
pretty
that would
good
make me
nerf.
think as well that like a little bit is just the hesitance to I would, I put this very lightly.
That's a pretty
but the
good
hesitance
nerf.
to try. I'm hesitant to do something a little bit out of the mold because as soon as people
I
start
mean,
doing
it's
well,
mostly
even though the
relevant early
items
game.
themselves got nerfed, he remained
The late
doing
game is
still
pretty
quite
irrelevant.
well,
Yeah, doing good.
past any of the god buffs that we ever gave him. So just a very slight slap on the wrist here. Venomous Haze, that first ability,
Yeah.
the spitting poison.
Wait,
Well,
wrist?
Hmm?
He doesn't have wrists.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
Slap on the. I was like, did I say something that I should have said? No. Slap on the tail that he also doesn't have. Slap on the noggin.
He does. It's just really far away.
Yeah, exactly. Decrease the base damage per tick from 50 to 55 to 10 to 50. So just 5 per rank.
You might have to put a point
per
in this
tick.
early now.
Just a small hit there, just to make sure that he doesn't feel as oppressive, especially in the solo lane where you can just like drop this on the
Yeah.
totem, drop his.
Totem, Bastion.
You might have to put a point in this
Yeah.
early
cooldown
now.
buff, any of those.
Insert
So you might have to go
objective in it.
1,
throwing it all over the
3,
Stygian
2,
beacon area.
1,
Yeah, like,
alt,
those are
2,
some of
2,
the
2,
reasons why
2.
it's good is just like the map and the macro has changed too.
Yeah,
he's been pretty
exactly.
favorable for those.
Yeah, little bonk to the danger noodle. All right, so that's it. No other.
No other changes.
All right,
And
Marty
as,
said-
as a preamble to this one. As,
Do we need to
as-
preamble?
No. I'm gonna let you take this. Why do you think I
Marty
chose
said-
this order, by the way?
Please do the both of them.
As Harrison said, these aren't all the buffs and god nerfs that are there. These are just ones
That's
that we
true.
wanted to talk about during the season. They'll be on their patch notes show.
Yeah, there's more.
Just because this section seemed small, it's not. But we still have one more nerf.
We do have one more nerf.
Oh, I wish it was 2.
Marty's getting
All right,
nerfed.
Murph.
Yeah, I mean, we're not surprised. At this
Yeah,
point.
no,
I don't
we
really
do.
think we need
Y'all
to
asked.
explain why he's here.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about what is happening
Sure.
to poor little
Let's do.
Marty. So for his passive
Passive
monstrosity, we are
lifesteal
decreasing
down.
The attack, or not sorry, the attack speed. The
Instead of
lifesteal,
21%,
both the
he'll get
ability and the
15%.
regular physical lifesteal from 0.7% per stack to 0.5, so going down quite a bit
Nice.
Yeah.
there. Poison Barb, this is the 2, the root, will be on a 13-second cooldown at all ranks versus 13 down to 11. This is to give him a little bit less at that
Nice.
consistent CC, so he's got to really be careful about that combo.
Yeah.
And then the thing that everyone's been talking about,
Ultimate.
Death from Above.
It was.
So Death from Above does do a lot of damage, that is for sure. So what's happening here is the scaling per burst is going down by
Holy.
4% per burst.
Yeah.
There's 12 bursts. That is a 48% scaling nerf.
Big number.
That is a lot
Holy.
of scaling that he's losing on that. And additionally, the cooldown is going from 90 seconds to 100 seconds. And 48% scaling is definitely going.
That's
Okay,
a lot.
That
keep
is
in
a lot.
mind.
That is maybe.
Keep
the-
in mind, the damage is a lot. His damage and his ult is going to be a lot lower. The cooldown on both his 2 and his ult is near irrelevant because he builds 40% cooldown. So instead of being at a 50, I think it's 54% cooldown, I think, maybe, it'll be at 60. And then his 2 will be at like a 8-second cooldown instead of a 7-second cooldown. So they are nerfs, but the cooldown nerfs are not as big as they seem. The passive healing is pretty decent, but he's still getting an extra 10% from Soul Eater. So he's sitting at 25% physical lifesteal now, or ability lifesteal, instead of 31. And then his ult's damage is also going to be a little bit lower. There are nerfs. They are nerfs. He's going to be worse. But I do not think this really hurts the character all too much where you're not going to be playing him. He's still uber safe. His 3 is still probably the best base ability in the entire game. His 1's like zone control and the ability to clear from so far away is insane. So while it may seem like Marty got hurt a lot, he is still going to be in a fine spot. He's probably not going to be the top tier character that he was. He'll probably be like lower than like Set. Maybe gods like Hebo pass him up, but he's still going to be probably top 5, top 10 in the game. He's just no longer number 1.